This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey everybody, it is the After Party Live on a Friday. Thank you very much for being here. What do I have all over the place here? Oh, this is the an old light that I used to try to use and that never really worked right, and it's broken. Now I have all the cords falling down. It's a mess in here. Thank you for being here on the After Party Live. Tim Sika will be here to talk movies and streaming and all kinds of fun stuff in just a few minutes. And I just want to really reiterate a huge thank you. I have received emails and messages, and I see people in the chat, which I couldn't go back and forth on the Mark Thompson show to respond, saying the most lovely, wonderful things. And thank you so much for the emotional support that you have given after my mom's stroke this week. Just huge thank you. It is a reminder of how much more this is than just a show, and how it's a supportive community that comes together when necessary and needed. And I'm very grateful. And I should have known that, because the people that followed Mark Thompson and Nikki Maduro and myself to YouTube after KGO imploded are the people that kind of knew us from there anyway, and were supportive and kind in that moment. And so it shouldn't surprise me that you're supportive in this moment as well, but it really got me right in the feels. So thank you for that. I just appreciate all the kind words, and you even taking the time to send messages of support and type in messages. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, let's move forward, because before Tim arrives, I want to tell you about this cat. I know cats take things, right? Creatures take things. We saw a fox just on the After Party Live a few days ago, a fox stealing shoes from a campground in the Grand Tetons. Now we have this cat. They call him Leonardo da Pinchi, because apparently Leonardo is a thief. Leonardo, I love the effing news. Leonardo steals stuff. He hasn't been with his current family for very long. He's a young cat. I think they said he was 18 months old. They've had him for a little while. But Leonardo keeps bringing stuff home. Neighbors' underwear, sweatshirts, socks, doesn't matter. This is all going down in New Zealand, where Leonardo da Pinchi, has shown himself to be quite the thief. He's 14 months old, by the way. 14 months, not 18 months. He's a Tonkinese cat. And so far, Leo has brought home about 150 different items that he has stolen from around the neighborhood. There he is. You could see him dragging someone's clothing into the house behind him. Leo, what have you stolen this time? It is so bad that Leo's owner says she now has a little chat group with the neighborhood, where every time he brings something home, she'll take a picture of the item and put it up, like, is this yours? It's in the basket in front of my house. I have it. You can come get your stuff. She said he brings home a lot of things, doesn't do much with them once they're inside, just dumps them on the floor and goes about his business. His favorite items to steal: underwear and socks. He really likes men's boxer shorts. He did take a very expensive jersey with the tag still on. He likes stuffed toys, loads of underpants and socks. Gardening gloves are also a favorite. Activewear, hats, sports bras, shorts, East Coast beige rugby socks. I guess that's a New Zealand thing. All Blacks jersey. Everything. He likes to steal. Sundays are his top day for crime, because that's when the neighborhood clotheslines are most popular, where people do their laundry on Sundays and they string their stuff to dry across laundry lines, and Leo likes to snag it from the lines and take it home. He attacks everything. His owner said he's a kitten. That's just kind of what he does. He bites you. He wakes you up in the middle of the night. So yeah, she has a WhatsApp group and Facebook post where she will post the thieved items and people have to come pick them up. The largest thing Leo brought home was a 5-foot long stuffed snake, stuffed animal, giant orange stuffed animal snake. And she said he brought it home and they gave it back and then he brought it home again. So he really liked that one. But Leo the cat burglar, stealing stuff all over the place. Wild. You never know what you're going to get when you adopt a cat. This one's a thiever. There is a new story about air pollution and dementia that I want to tell you about, a new link between the two. As we wait for Tim Sika, I don't want to launch into the story because I want to make sure to give it its due. But yeah, it's a disturbing new trend or new study that shows this trend where people living in more polluted areas seem to suffer more from dementia. So we'll talk about that coming up. Also, a really interesting story about a Napa winery planting they 13 years ago planted this grape crop up to the fence line, I guess, or up to the edge of the property, and the new neighbor has planted a row of redwood trees there. Now the winery is suing the neighbor because they think the wine is going to taste like the debris from the redwood trees. So we'll get into that as well. But first, it is time, and I'm super excited to bring in my friend Tim Sika at the movies with Tim Sika. Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Hey,
How are
you.
How are you
Hey,
doing,
you,
Kim?
pussycat.
Yeah, hey, you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. My mom had a stroke this week,
Oh,
and I know it
no.
caught me by surprise. And it was a mild stroke, so small, and she's recovering. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with.
Oh,
But
man. First your dad,
mm,
now this. Oh,
I
my God.
know it's really weird to have, and just months apart. So,
Oh, I'm sorry
um,
to hear that. I hope you're,
yeah,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah, she's gonna be okay, and she's gonna get better, and it's all right. But that's kind of what's going on. So I welcome the release of checking out all the movies that you have to bring me.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's more than usual this week, so I'm going to try to talk fast.
Yay!
Yay!
Well, what's the first movie you have for us, Tim Sika?
Well, the big studio release, The Fantastic Four, First Steps,
Oh,
right? Okay,
hmm.
it's by my count, this is the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the second reboot of the Fantastic Four film series. There were a couple previous movies that didn't go over too well and actually weren't all that great. But okay, so former child actor, theater, and television director Adam Shackman helmed this project. And it's funny, Kim, you know, when you think about these Marvel and DC movies, you wonder, because these movies are so big and they're just huge, you wonder just exactly how much the director on any of these superhero movies makes a difference, if at all,
Mhm.
especially on a big project like this one, like all these superhero movies where there are so many visual effects and action sequences. You wonder, like, well, who does it even matter who directs them? But interestingly enough, and for whatever reason, with this Fantastic Four First Steps, you do get a sense of a director's input, because this one, while paying homage to all of the fans and providing for the fans all of the elements they go to see these movies for, with this one, there's a kind of a palpable sense of lightness and even whimsy that comes through on the picture, which was a big surprise for me and made the movie kind of special and noticeably apart from many of the rest of these comic book superhero movies. I loved how I loved how the movie opened. We get, instead of a detailed origin story, you know, which can take up a lot of time on the movie, we get this quick Cliff Notes opening sequence that tells us how the Fantastic Four became the Fantastic Four. They were these before they became the Fantastic Four. They were four astronauts. Reed Richards, Sue and Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. They go on this outer space mission during which they gained superhuman abilities from these cosmic rays,
Okay.
bestowing upon them, as one of them said in the movie, cosmically compromised DNA. I love that. Anyway, okay, so the plot. We quickly learn that two of the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards and Sue Storm, they're married. They're going to become parents. We learn that within the first 5 minutes of the movie. So they have a baby, which they name Franklin. A few months later, a female character named the Silver Surfer suddenly appears to announce to the people of Earth that the planet has been marked for destruction by this planet devouring cosmic being named Galactus. But it so transpires that Galactus will spare the Earth if Reed Richards and Sue Storm give away their baby to him.
What?
Because Galactus senses that this baby's going to have this amazing superhuman DNA, right? And he wants to like harness that and, go on and destroy other worlds, possibly even the Earth, which he said he wasn't going to do if he got the baby. But anyway, so I found the film to be surprisingly good. It was light. It felt quintessentially comic booky. Like when you, as a kid, as I did, I read the Fantastic Four comic books. It captures that feel and that sense of when you were reading them as a kid in a very stylish way with a light touch. The acting by everybody involved is really excellent. Pedro Pascal heads this cast. It was a visually arresting film. It boasted a kind of photographic lyricism even at times. The Michael Giacchino score was fabulous. We also get to witness childbirth in space at high speed, which is really, really interesting. and a number of other interesting sequences, usually absent from superhero movies of this type. So, okay, superhero fatigue, which we've talked a lot about on this show and which I complain about a lot, I have to admit, kind of kicked in, but just momentarily after the first hour. But then the film quickly picked up. And unlike previous movie iterations of this franchise, I think this movie deserves to be a hit. It was a lot better than Superman, that's for sure. So yeah, I was surprised. It was a good movie. I didn't feel fatigued, by all the, visual pyrotechnics and stuff. It was just enjoyable. So yeah, I recommend it.
Awesome.
Surprise. Yeah.
It is, because usually that's not your jam. You look at all these Marvel movies coming out, you're like, another one.
Oh, exactly. And
okay.
And they always make me cranky. This one didn't make me cranky at all.
The cranky Tim Sika. Maybe that's what we should have called this segment.
Yeah, the cranky Tim Sika. Yeah.
So funny. Your next movie is called Oh Hi.
Yeah. Boy, I misplaced
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Yeah, that's actually a line from the film. And I saw this movie a while ago. I misplaced my notes for this movie because I saw it a few weeks ago. So I'm going to try and recall to the best of my ability what I liked and disliked about this movie. This was one of those movies, Kim, that I didn't particularly like. I felt that most of it failed to be narratively credible, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But in retrospect, I feel that it's a fairly good movie. I think most of the problems I had with it were because I took issue with what were obvious intentional choices made by the director, Sophie Brooks, and the screenwriter, Molly Gordon, to make their point, I think, about how some guys are just jerks, ruled by their libido and not taking responsibility for their actions. Not all guys, but certainly, yeah. Well, so there you go. Certainly, the one depicted here is like a real jerk. So having said that, it's a rom-com of sorts. It's a very different kind of rom-com. It's about a couple played by Logan Lerman and Molly Gordon, who gets a story credit here. She came up with the story. She's the co-star of the film too. They play a couple who, upon first blush, appear to be very serious about each other until they go on this weekend road trip that, how should I say this, takes a decidedly unexpected turn. That results, I can say this because it's in the trailer, it results in the guy being handcuffed to a bed for an indeterminate length of time, while the woman and two of her friends who show up at this cabin the couple's staying at decide, well, what are we going to do with this guy, right? Yeah. So now my problem with the movie is that I never, ever really believed that any of these characters would act the way they act in the movie. The Logan Lerman character, the one that gets handcuffed to the bed, he keeps unnecessarily putting his foot in his mouth, creating his own hell. I think that's what the point of the. I think that's what the point of the movie was. The Molly Gordon character and her two friends certainly in real life would never be doing, saying, or acting any of what they are doing or saying in real life.
Yeah.
In other words, I had problems with the characters and believing their actions.
Yeah.
But that was my problem, not the filmmakers. I couldn't let that go. So I didn't like the film. I kept wanting to yell at the screen at these characters to stop being so damned stupid. But that said, and thinking back on the film, I kind of have to begrudgingly admit that it does make it makes several sound points, I think, about male-female relationships, how we all, well, for one, when it comes to relationships, sometimes based on our own needs, we sometimes misinterpret what's really going on in that relationship, which can backfire on us. The movie itself is never boring. It's occasionally funny. The acting is across the board very good. I think the director and screenwriter had an axe to grind about the male of the species. Fair enough. Not necessarily a bad thing. I get it. But like I said, I had problems with the logic of the behavior of the characters that kept pulling me out of the film. I didn't like it, but it's interesting the visceral reaction I had to the film. Not only was I screaming at the characters, but it was uncomfortable too, because I kept thinking, like, what is around the corner? I am really uncomfortable, and I'm thinking, am I uncomfortable because of my own experience and I'm seeing it coming out on the screen, or what? So I think that the movie deserves props for that. And thinking about it in retrospect, I think it was enough for me to recommend it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I think I think it's a good movie, but oh man. Oh.
If it brings out a feeling and it stays with you, you think, yeah, one of those.
Yeah. I mean, there was also the thing where I'm going, well, nobody would ever do or say these things in real life, but I don't know, I don't know. There was a part of it, like I say, that made me uncomfortable. So I think it was hitting a nerve, which we don't want to go into now because that's for a therapist to handle, not Kim McAllister.
So funny.
After party, yeah.
I can therapize you. It's okay if you want to talk.
Yeah, I can open up to you, right? Yeah.
Let's move to this one, because I might need therapy after looking at this poster. It's called The Home.
Yeah, oh God. Okay. Another, I think, objectively good movie, because I think it achieves reasonably effectively what it set out to achieve. That's The Home. It's yet another in what appears to be a weekly release of another horror movie with a Carrie-like finale. Do you ever see Carrie, the movie Carrie with Sissy? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a similar, it is. Yeah. Great movie, Brian De Palma film. This one has a Carrie-like finale that'll probably have most horror fans cheering in the aisles, although don't quote me on that. Okay, I'm not faring too well with critics, this movie.
No.
Whoever really knows the mind of we critics, right? But, okay, SNL alumnus, Pete Davidson, the funny guy, he's in the movie, he stars in The Home, he plays this troubled young man who's forced to work as a janitor in a retirement home that we soon learn harbors unseemly secrets. Let's just say. So what can I say about this movie? I found it vivid. I found it atmospheric. It was unnerving, at times out and out arty. Psychological tale with a strong lead performance by Pete Davidson, and say what you will about Pete Davidson. I know a lot of people don't like him. I think he's a funny guy, but he possesses this certain presence that's hard to put into words, and that works well here and to the film's ultimate benefit. There's some amusing moments, but he plays dead serious in this movie, which also, lends credence to my theory that, the funniest comedians, if given a really good dramatic role, can really shine. Well, he's really good in this movie, but it's unpleasant, this movie. The script's kind of dumb. The cast is very good. The whole enterprise is laced with this like stylish horror movie, trappings. with, like I said, a very violent and grotesque finale. It's interesting because I just realized I said at the outset that the finale will have a lot of horror fans cheering. But
Hmm.
I'm thinking in retrospect, and just for context, I saw this movie. I saw this at an early invite only screening with a lot of audience members who I think were invited. They weren't critics. Presumably they were invited because they were on a list of like horror movie fans.
Sure.
But when the film was over, it was so interesting. The audience just looked and acted like they walked out of the theater looking like zombies. They didn't say anything, and they were acting like as though they had just been kicked in the face by a horse. So
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad for the movie. So who knows how it's going to fare with fans or at the box office. I think I think it had something, albeit very on the nose, to say about how we regard our elderly in this society.
mhm.
I mean, it couldn't help but sort of go there about how we treat the elderly sometimes. But I found it really unsavory, not particularly fun, but, I recommend it to horror fans as a kind of predictably impactful and effective horror movie exercise, if nothing else.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the last 10 minutes, wow. I mean, we're talking about, well, yeah, we're talking really gross stuff, really horrifying
Oh,
stuff. Think the finale of Carrie only like with a 2025 sensibility as opposed to
oh,
a
no.
70s sensibility. Yeah, that's the
Scary.
home. That's the home.
All
Yeah.
right. We'll move on from that one because this looks interesting. It's called Before We Forget.
Yeah, maybe the best film of the week.
Okay.
Although the next one we're going to talk about, Lost Cause, may be comparable,
Hmm.
but for different reasons. But this one, before we forget, it's a Spanish American coming of age drama. It's told in flashbacks. It's half in Spanish with English subtitles, but half in English as well, spoken English. It's a debut feature by this guy named Juan Pablo de Pache and co-director Andres Pepe Estrada, and it's a kind of based on their experience, I think, as friends. It's kind of a self-reflective tale that follows this filmmaker played by DePace, who directed this movie, so it kind of has a
Hmm.
meta quality. He's grappling with an unfinished movie, and he's trying to figure out how to end this film that he's made, inspired by this formative friendship he had with his Swedish classmate he met at a boarding school in 1997. Both these guys share this bond defined by, obvious tenderness and fascination, but which seems to be continually interrupted again and again, like circumstantially thwarted throughout the course of the story by outer circumstances and misunderstandings. It's a drama which I think fundamentally deals with unspoken emotions.
Hmm.
So yeah, as the story unfolds, these two guys are separated when one of them gets expelled from the same boarding school that they're attending. They meet again 25 years later, and then they reckon with their friendship, which may be best described as, how can I say this, more than a friendship, but also less than a romantic relationship. So the film
Hmm.
is really about that kind of netherworld between those two things, and why perhaps there's that space between them, and perhaps the social forces, the cultural forces that get in the way of that kind of relationship that's difficult to ascribe words to. This movie reminded me of these two guys. I went to an all boys Catholic school,
Hmm.
and there were these two guys. I can't remember their names. They were they were they were the best of friends, always together, always seen together. There didn't seem to be anything like sexual about the relationship. I don't think there was, but there could have easily been, but you couldn't imagine it. These guys were so inseparable. And they wound up dying in a car crash, actually, but
Oh,
that's another
God.
story. But this movie reminded me of those guys, um in that way, where we're like, well, what kind of relationship is that? You kind of look at it, you wonder about it. It's just very, very special, and it's a hard relationship to put into words,
Hmm.
and that's what this movie does. It's a tender film, and a kind of layered meta narrative about memory, friendship, I don't know, maybe falling in love, growing up, coming to and coming to terms and finding peace with incidents in one's past which felt
Mhm.
and also literally remained unfinished or incomplete. It's
Mhm.
beautifully photographed. It's very evocative, and I found it a very special, very different coming of age tale about self discovery and making art out of pain and personal experience. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it was surprised. It's a surprise. It came out of left field. This is when I appreciate publicists who are repping these kinds of lesser known movies that aren't getting a lot of promotion from studios because there's no money. So anyway, I really recommend before we forget it. It's a very nice labor of love kind of movie and story.
Where can you find this one?
In theaters, I believe.
Okay.
I know for a fact that it's opening at the Orinda Theater, but and I think in other select theaters as well. So yeah,
Before we forget. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Sounds really interesting. The next
yeah,
one is called Lost Cause.
yeah. Lost Cause.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Speaking of very different, our final film of the week is quite different, and it's going to be. I want to bring this to people's attention because it's anyway, I'll explain. But this movie is going to be premiering this Sunday, July 27th, at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco as part of the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival. Okay. It's the second feature film of the director, Adam Kritzer, who also wrote, edited, is among the ensemble cast. He plays a rabbi, and he also he sings in the film, actually songs he composed himself. They are performed and interspersed throughout the drama. I'm going to do my best to describe what this movie is. And they comment on the action, which primarily the action of this movie consists of a table read of a bunch of actors, and they're all very good, the actors in this movie.
Mhm.
This was a SAG signatory sponsored film because most of the actors I think are in SAG, and it's a bunch of actors doing a table read of a script written by Adam Kritzer. I hope I got that right because there's no other way around saying this. But Lost Cause is a film that is challenging to synopsize.
Mhm.
I wrote the following down, Kim, because wait, I got to find it because I think it was Adam, the filmmaker, who provided this for me. But just for starters and for something to grab onto before going into the film, it's a useful description of the movie, which kind of defies description, but it's an intriguing one too. And it was his description that made me want to see this film. And he says, quote, "The story of Lost Cause takes place during a Yom Kippur service that transforms into a talk therapy session for Stephen Miller," end quote. And yeah, that's the Stephen Miller, Trump's
Okay.
guy, controversial Stephen Miller. So this movie is a meta narrative. It's kind of a musical. It's kind of a musical. Yeah, there are songs interspersed throughout this story, performed by the director, who also plays a rabbi in the table read, that comment on either what we've just seen or what we're about to see.
Okay.
It's interesting to watch the movie too, because while watching it, I'm looking at this movie, I'm going, this is very cinematic, but it also played like a kind of performance piece that might work well or work as well as it does here on the stage.
Yeah.
But anyway, if I were to summarize this film upon a first viewing, and I think it requires at least a second viewing to at least superficially wrap one's head around it, maybe more viewings to uncover any deeper meanings that may be here, because he also quotes artists throughout the film like James Baldwin and Bertolt Brecht. If I were to summarize Lost Cause, I would definitely recommend it to movie audiences craving for something outside of a multiplex movie fare, as it is a very distinctive, it's very smart, very intelligent, very unusual, very creative, at times maddening, but an always compelling, always challenging, personal work of art that attempts to make some kind of sense out of the tumultuous times in which we are all now living. So it's receiving its world premiere this Sunday, July 27th, in San Francisco at the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival. It's going to play at the Roxy. Filmmaker Adam Kritzer, who has a great movie look, by the way. His performances of the songs in the film make you wish he were like the lead singer in some kind of grunge rock group. He's got a great look. I mean, he's just got a great look. He's going to be there in attendance for a post-screening Q&A, which I'm sure is going to be absolutely fascinating. So, I have to recommend this movie because it is so different. It's so heartfelt. It's obviously a labor of love. And folks, if you happen to be in or around the San Francisco Bay Area this Sunday, you ought to check it out.
At the Roxy. Awesome. That's Lost Cause.
Yeah.
And Tim Sika's classic movie wreck of the week is going to be The Scarlet Empress.
Yes. Unusual seems to be the operative word, carrying over into our classic movie recommendation for this week, because The Scarlet Empress from 1934. You know, Kim, unusual doesn't even remotely do this movie justice. Weird is really the best place to start when you want to talk about this movie. And then we go from there to delirious, insane, surreal, crazy, and so forth. From 1934, I cannot believe this movie is 91 years old. In many ways, it feels so ahead of its time, even today. When you're watching it today, you would think it was made yesterday because it's so advanced in terms of the way it was shot. And in its overall weirdness, I cannot even imagine how this was received by audiences in its day, 1934. My understanding is that the movie bombed big time, and that the director, Joseph von Sternberg, was added to everybody's garbage list for making such an unsuccessful, expensive, and self-indulgent, and at times perceived as a turkey of a movie, although the film's subsequently been acclaimed and celebrated as a classic. But okay, it's from director Joseph von Sternberg, whose many film collaborations with actress Marlene Dietrich are legendary. They are reunited again in The Scarlet Empress, with Marlene Dietrich starring as Catherine the Great in what is basically, it's a highly romanticized rendering of her life, of Catherine the Great's life, from her childhood through her arranged marriage to this half-witted Grand Duke Peter, insanely portrayed by Sam Jaffe, who 3 years later would do this like total about-face playing the High Lama in Frank Capra's Lost Horizon. But anyway, I digress. I think for lovers of cinema, this film is practically a religious experience, because in terms of visuals, this movie is a symphony verging on insanity. It has to be seen to be believed. Grotesque statuaries of deformed gargoyles and slaughtered people decorating most of the palace. And that's just the beginning. I could talk for hours about The Scarlet Empress, but, you know, I'm feeling like I'm talking myself out, and our segment's running a little bit long this week, but I am kind of talked up. But if you've never seen it and you're in the mood for something arrestingly, I don't know, indescribable, one of a kind, and masterfully filmed and performed pieces of cinema, you can't get much better than The Scarlet Empress, which is, I think, I just realized I have to keep in mind that some of these movies I'm recommending, are only available in physical media and hard to see if you've stopped collecting Blu-rays and DVDs. I think you can only see The Scarlet Empress on a Criterion disc.
What?
On a Criterion.
Can't be right.
Yeah, well, there's a horrible dupe on YouTube, which I suggest people avoid at all costs. But yeah, hard to see if you like a Blu-ray player, but worth every second of watching it if you can. I mean, it's an incredible, masterfully cinematic movie masterpiece, one of a kind. It's just, it transforms you, this movie, watching it, because you just can't believe what you're watching and what you're experiencing. It's just amazing. Anyway, I'm going to keep in mind moving forward that the movies I pick are ones that you can easily stream. I don't think this one you can stream. You have to see it on a Blu-ray disc. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out there for everybody. Remember it, if nothing else, The Scarlet Empress from 1934.
I've never even heard of this movie before, so it's interesting.
It's 91 years old. So yeah.
The pictures you're
only like what, 25. So
that's right. Yeah. How did that happen?
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, she looks beautiful in the movie.
Oh, she's gorgeous. She's stunningly photographed. Von Sternberg photographed Dietrich like nobody else. And yeah, she's beautiful in this movie. But it is some kind of wild ride. this movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God, yeah. That's a guy who she. Yeah, that's I can't remember. He plays Count. He plays a count. This guy, and there's the suggestiveness in this movie because I think it came out right before the production code was starting to become enforced. So the sexual innuendo in this movie is like super perverse.
Oh,
Even now, even watching it now, 91 years later, you're going, holy cow.
that's such a surprise because you would think that they would be much more conservative then. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, they were gonna a year later when Will Hayes enforced the production code. But yeah, this movie's suggestive sexually too.
Okay.
So anyway, terrific
Wow.
movie. Yep.
All right, quick recap if we can. The Fantastic Four, The First Steps. You said this was surprisingly good. The acting is excellent. It's visually arresting. You said it's got a fabulous score. And this movie, you say, deserves to be a hit. You enjoyed it. You recommend The Fantastic Four, The First Steps.
Indeed.
Oh, hi. You said of this movie, oh, hi. It's a fairly good movie, but you really didn't like it when you saw it then you realized it made you really uncomfortable. So you thought maybe there was something here. You said it's a different kind of rom-com, but you never really bought into the story or the characters, but still it made you it elicited such a reaction from you that you're recommending Oh Hi.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
The Home. This movie, you said it's a good movie in that it does what it sets out to do, but it's a good cast and a dumb script, you said. Interesting message about how we treat old people, though. You recommend it for horror fans, horror aficionados, and you warn that the last 10 minutes is super gross. Super gross.
Super gross.
Before we forget, you called this one the best movie of the week. You said it's half in Spanish, half in English, but it has subtitles both ways. And it's about an interesting relationship. You called this movie tender. And you said it's about friendship and finding peace with things in your past. You really enjoyed Before We Forget, and you recommend it. And this one, Lost Cause, which you say is a very interesting commentary on the times in which we live, premiering this Sunday at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco. So that could be a fun weekend outing. You said it's challenging, but you're recommending it to people who really want a different movie-going experience. And you called it smart and creative and compelling and masterfully filmed. And you're recommending Lost Cause. And last, we might be challenged to find it and to see it, but Tim's classic movie rec of the week is The Scarlet Empress, featuring Marlene Dietrich. And of this movie, you said it's weird, a visual symphony, and it's interesting for the times and how relatable it is to today. And you're recommending as your classic movie rec of the week, The Scarlet Empress.
Kim, I have a question for you. Do you take shorthand?
I just type the little things that you say.
Oh,
as you're
okay. I was wondering if you did shorthand. Yeah.
When you say something that I find particularly interesting, I'm like, oh, he said this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
I take notes on your comments.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to, before you go, and I know we're running long, and hopefully you have time to talk about this. I watched this because my mom recommended it, and earlier in the week she had watched this show, and supposedly it was filmed in Yosemite, and it's this kind of dark show about it's a body that falls off of Half Dome in Yosemite and gets tangled up in these ropes where these hikers are trying to scale Half Dome. And then the story ensues about, it's a streaming series. The story on Netflix. The story then ensues about the finding of who this person is. Oops, I'm sorry, I've taken away this movie. Who this person is, how they died. And so it's a murder mystery, but in doing so, it gets very, very dark and sad. And
is it good? Should I see? I haven't seen it. I've heard of it. I've not seen it. Is it worth seeing?
I'm gonna say that it's good. That the story is good. It stars Eric Bana, And so the acting is excellent and
Yeah,
the
he's
story
great.
is
Yeah.
interesting, but I just found it really dark and depressing. And a lot of
Well,
times I'm looking for something that lifts me
yeah,
up and
lifts
doesn't
you
pull me
up. Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Well,
my own thing though, but it's
you
good.
said what I heard. You said there was a controversy surrounding it, though. Something
There
about where it was filmed or something.
there is a controversy because a lot of people that click on this movie are expecting to see incredible scenes of Yosemite. And my mom was saying, "Oh, the park looks so beautiful." It turns out, though, it's not Yosemite, that it wasn't filmed in Yosemite. And
Hmm.
so there's,
Hmm.
and I don't think that's necessarily
No.
um strange because a lot of movies are filmed
Right.
somewhere else where
Yes.
they claim to be in a snowy
Hmm.
town in
Right.
Vermont and they're filmed somewhere in Canada. So a lot of movies are, they kind of cheat when they say
Yeah.
they're
Of
filmed at a
course.
certain place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think people click on the movie, the intention is to see part of the park. And when you see the beautiful scenes in the movie, you think you're looking at Yosemite, but you're really not.
Well, who's upset about it? Are the people that are watching it upset because it's not Yosemite, or are like park people at Yosemite upset because they
Yeah, park people at
really?
Yosemite, they're saying, "Listen, this is people are coming to the park, they're asking about this movie, and they're having to say that wasn't filmed here. Like what you're seeing is not Yosemite." It's interesting because to me it kind of looks like Yosemite. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Geez, I probably would finesse that in a different way. I wouldn't lie. I just would say, oh, so what were people asking like to see specific things that Yosemite does not have that were in the film? Is that what the problem was? I don't
This,
get it.
by
I
the
don't
way,
know
I
why.
sh I should tell you that the series is called Untamed. This
Untamed.
Netflix series is called
Right,
Untamed.
right. Yeah. A colleague of
Yeah.
mine told me about it actually and reviewed it for
Okay.
Chronicle. Yeah, yeah.
So
Untamed. Yeah.
they say that taken a few days on Netflix for this thing to become that on Netflix they rank them like
Right.
the
Yeah,
10
yeah, yeah.
most popular things of the week. It's number one. Okay, so it hasn't taken very long for this to get to number one. A lot of people are watching it.
Yeah.
And one of the folks that wrote this book called Yosemite Wildlife said the
Uh-huh.
first episode had him yelling at his TV. He told SF Gate his dogs were traumatized because he was screaming at his TV. They say
Oh
what
boy.
ruined it was that why claim Yosemite, one of the most unique, cherished landscapes in the national park system, as your setting,
Mm,
and then feature nothing about the park in either the scenery of the park or the people that live and work around the park or visit it.
mm,
He said it's like if you had Brad Pitt in a movie in the lead, but he never appeared in the film. That if Yosemite is supposed to be starring
yeah.
in this movie, then why not film it there? They thought that was really strange.
Well, that's a point. That's a
Yeah.
point. But oh God, I mean, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
And
People are sensitive these days.
I
I
guess
don't know
so.
what to
But
say.
to you, that's not a deal breaker for a
No.
series or a movie. No.
No, but but then I don't like this guy who wrote the book. I don't have any associations with it. I might feel
Sure.
I still don't think I would mind. I would just that's what movies do. Well,
Right.
maybe it's different. I don't know. It's I guess it's debatable and it's up for discussion.
Yeah.
I sometimes think God, we get so upset about things that don't really matter, considering what's going on in the real world. And these are just movies, folks.
Yeah.
And
And this is
movies aren't
true.
movies aren't necessarily. Movies are especially movies that are based on true stories. They're kind
Yeah.
of their own fictions. They
Mhm.
take elements of the truth and turn them into a drama. But I don't know. Geez, I'll look into the controversy
Yeah.
and maybe I'll get some
Report
more
back.
insights on and report back. Yeah, yeah,
Nolan Fidian says Northern Exposure was filmed in Washington State. So same kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
landscape, the place takes the center stage, and it turns out not to be the place.
Right. And a lot of these other movies that they claim say are filmed in one state are actually
Mhm.
filmed in another state. But yeah, Oh, I don't know what to say about
A lot of
this.
reasons. I think they do it for tax reasons, that they
Sure.
get a tax break for filming in a different country like
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah,
And
in
so that's,
Romania.
yeah,
It's really cheap to film in Romania. Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
it differently. All
Yeah.
right, Tim, I adore you. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
And I
thanks, Kim.
hope you have a great weekend. That is
Yeah.
At the Movies with Tim Sika.
You too, Kim. And I'm glad your mom's going to be okay.
Oh,
Thanks
thanks,
for sharing
Tim.
that with me.
I
Okay. Talk to you
appreciate
next
it.
week. All righty.
Bye. Tim
Bye.
Sika, everybody. At the Movies with Tim Sika. Always great when Tim swings by the show. He is here every Friday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, and I will pull his segment and post it as a standalone video. So if you're looking for just the movie reviews for this week, you can catch it that way as well. And before I forget, and I always am so remiss in doing all the YouTubey things, please click like and please subscribe. We're so close to 2,500 subscribers. So really thank you for doing that. If you could, and if you haven't subscribed yet, don't unsubscribe. Don't click it and unsubscribe. Click it and subscribe. Make sure you subscribed and click the like button as well. And thank you for doing that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's move on to this story about pollution and dementia, because it turns out there is now a link between the two, significant evidence tying air pollution with dementia. That from this new study published in the Lancet Planetary Health, where researchers looked at data from 32 other studies that involve more than 29 million participants, most of them from high-income countries in Europe, North America, and Asia, and Australia. And they were looking about this connection, looking at to kind of get more information about this connection of a long suspected link between air pollution and dementia. And after crunching the numbers from the previous studies, the researchers at University of Cambridge say they have identified a positive, statistically significant association between dementia and long-term exposure to three types of air pollutants: fine particulate matter with diameters of 2.5 microns or less, nitrogen dioxide, and soot from sources like vehicle exhaust emissions and burning wood as well. And they say the risks of dementia go up as the level of exposures increase, especially for that tiny particulate matter, which is so small that it can be deeply inhaled into the lungs. So, for a particulate matter of 2.5, every 10 micrograms per cubic meter of long-term exposure increases an individual's relative risk of dementia by 17%. So that that's a lot of numbers, but what they say is if you put that in perspective, the average roadside measurement in London was 10. It was more than 2.5. So it was 10. And that's a milliliters, or sorry, I have to go back. PM, a particulate matter of 2.5, they say 10 micrograms. So that's well over 2.5, right? And that for every 10 micrograms of long-term exposure to nitrogen dioxide, the relative risk of dementia increased by 3%, dementia risk jumping by 13% for every one of soot exposure. The traffic-related air pollution common in cities and high-income countries. And so perhaps that's why we're seeing people have an increased risk of dementia and diagnosis of that as well. And the researchers are saying that the mounting evidence tying these two together makes the case for cleaner air even more important for the sake of human health, the ability of care systems to cope with the exploding numbers of people that are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's and other types of neurological diseases. So I thought that was an interesting thing. Something to note as we move on in the world. There is a fight brewing at a winery in Napa, where the winery is suing its neighbor because of the stand of redwood trees just planted. The winery is called Quantum Limit, and they are filing suit against their neighbor, Oakell Holdings, for planting these redwood trees. They say the redwood trees are like dropping a bunker buster bomb into their Cabernet Sauvignon vineyard. This is all going down in the Napa Valley, where the trees have been planted just a few feet away from this vineyard. They say once the trees reach maturity, get taller, they'll stretch to heights of up to 100 feet. The canopy spreading to 75 feet. The roots likely extending 20 to 75 feet away from the trunk. And it's posing a threat to the affected vineyard through shading, through invasive roots, and through the effects that can impact the character and flavor of the wine grapes, because pine needles will drop, the taste of the wine, because of the terroir, will be changed and affected. Quantum Limit Vineyard says the vines are 13 years old. They were planted way before these redwood trees, and the debris from this species of tree is excessive and it will contaminate the flavors in the wine. And they're afraid that it will give the essence of a redwood forest floor with the characteristics of resin, camphor, laurel, mushrooms, and musk. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for when it comes to the taste of Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah, they call it a bunker busting bomb into the vineyard. The winery, Quantum Limits, they say they carefully managed the soil biome and the nutrient composition to perfect their cab, but growing the redwood trees so close to a tightly controlled, balanced vineyard is like dropping a bomb on their whole operation. So they say if you wanted to destroy a neighbor's vineyard and their business, that this would be the way to do it. And because of that, they're calling the stand of redwood trees a spite fence. That they did it on purpose. The neighbors did it on purpose. And they've tried, they say, the Quantum Limits folks, to resolve this amicably for more than a year. They tried to get the people to move the trees away from the vineyard. And they say the row of trees is classified under California law as a spite fence. That would be something planted or erected for the purpose of injuring or annoying the adjacent property owner. So because they're calling it a spite fence, they say they're entitled to seek damages and a court order directing removal and relocation of those trees. They're mad because they planted the trees so close to the vineyard. I would say if you were so worried about your vineyard, why would you plant your vineyard up to the edge of the property? Why wouldn't you give it some space so that no matter what happened on the other side of the property line, it wouldn't affect your prized cab vineyard? Yeah. The folks at the winery are saying this is malicious conduct by their neighbor. That the neighbor knows what this would do because they're grape growers themselves. And because of that, they say it's malicious conduct, it's threatening their business. And this is getting to be a big fight between these neighbors in Napa County. Yeah. Something interesting. You wouldn't think a grove of redwood trees would cause such a big to-do. So, shall we take a look at our lotto of the day? This is another one of these stories where you have a man who got a lottery ticket as a birthday present and ends up winning big. $100,000. I'd call that a pretty big win. Yeah. This happened in Iowa, where, look at his happy face here. I'd be pretty happy if I won 100 grand. There he is. The Iowa lottery. This Iowa man received a scratch-off lottery ticket as a gift from a buddy, and His name is Christian. He is from Des Moines. He said he was celebrating his 42nd birthday with friends when they gave him a card containing a few scratch-off tickets. So he handed one of the tickets to his girlfriend so she could finish scratching it. And she said, "You need to look at this. You need to look at it right now." He said, "I didn't think it was real at first." He said, "There's no way. It's got to be a joke." He won $100,000 on a mega crossword game that his friend Diana got him at the Best Food Mart in Des Moines. He said he doesn't think it's actually hit him completely. He was so floored by this that he couldn't sleep at all, waiting to come down to the lottery place to collect his winnings. Hasn't decided what to do with those winnings just yet, but he says it does give him peace of mind going forward, that it came at a perfect time for them, and he called it a blessing. So that is the lotto of the day. And I think that is the show for the day. I hope that you guys have a really great weekend. And I will see you back here on Monday at 11 a.m. We'll hit the go button on the Mark Thompson show, and Michael Schur will be in the captain's seat. Gary Dietrich will be along to talk politics. Again, that is Monday at 11 on the Mark Thompson show. And hopefully, if everything goes well over the weekend, I'll be here doing the after party as well on a Hide in Your Cave Monday. By then, I'll probably really feel like hiding in my cave. But thank you again for being here and spending this time. And I hope you have a great weekend. Make it the very best that you can. And I'll see you back here on the YouTube for now.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.